Let's talk about that because that is a question on a lot of people's minds. Are these things connected? Last week, we saw the Dominion lawsuit, and that cost Fox a pretty penny, $787.5 million. Are these related to Dominion? Is this the start of a domino effect? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's tempting to connect it directly to that $787 million payout. That's a lot of money. And, Fox may be thinking, we need to start making some cuts. So, you have a person like Dan Bongino, popular to the people who know who he is. You may talk to somebody who doesn't watch Fox. They know who Tucker Carlson is. They may not know who Dan Bongino is. But to conservatives, he is very well known. His show on Saturday nights, top rated. So no problem with ratings in that case. But they said it was the inability to reach an agreement. And it does make you think, well, how far off could they be? It's a money thing. Fox, you would think, is doing very well with money until they agree to pay $787 million. Tucker Carlson, however, there's another issue there with money, and that is the fact that even though he is regularly the highest rated host in all of cable news, he doesn't have a lot of advertisers. He has had advertiser boycotts worked up against him since 2020 during the summer of the Black Lives Matter movement. He said things about that led several national advertisers to say, we're not going to advertise on his show. And if you ever watch his show, or before last Friday, you would notice that he didn't have major national advertisers. He had very small kind of Mike Lindell, My Pillow type advertisers. And so in a way, even though he was highly rated, he was bringing in a ton of viewers to Fox News, he wasn't bringing in a ton of dollars to Fox News. So that could be a factor as well.
I do want to point to a part of your piece that you called both Don Lemon and Tucker a liability to their company's bottom lines. Like you said, Tucker didn't have a problem in the ratings department. The advertisers, that might be a different story. Don Lemon and the CNN This Morning team were tasked with turning ratings around, and so far that really hasn't come to fruition. And he has been involved in his own amount of controversies really since the show began. So can you explain what you meant by them being liabilities?
Yeah, I think at some point, Megyn Kelly, the former Fox News host who has a show on Sirius XM podcast, essentially, she described it this way, that Don Lemon had stepped on a rake too many times. And that was what made him hit that, whatever that line was for CNN that said, he's got to go. He's got to go today, actually. And yeah, as you said, there had been just a variety of things that distracted from trying to launch this morning show, which for the CEO of CNN, Chris Licht, this was the first thing he rolled out as he begins his sort of vision for how he wants to reprogram CNN, starting in the morning, going into daytime, and then ultimately later into primetime. But the show didn't get a good audience right out of the gate. In fact, right out of the gate, it did a worse number than the show it replaced, New Day. So that was a problem. But then, as you said, there were these distractions. Don Lemon made what was widely perceived to be sexist comments about the Republican presidential candidate, Nikki Haley, talking about her age and that women are essentially, he said, over the hill if they're over 30. I don't remember the exact age he said, but it was just not a good thing to say. He ended up getting suspended, agreed to take some kind of training, and came back. And his first day back, he didn't address it. He made an apology via Twitter, but never said anything on the air. So there were a lot of these kinds of things that I think were a problem. There was a lot of reports that there was tension on the set between Don Lemon and his co-hosts, which isn't great when the format of the show is to have three hosts who the idea is we're great friends who hang out around the table and talk about the news. And you can join us and be part of our conversation. When you feel there's this awkward tension, which sometimes spilled over onto the air, it doesn't make you want to hang out with them every morning. And I think that ultimately, it's that kind of thing that got Chris Licht, even though he handpicked Don Lemon for this role, to say, I got to put my priority on the show and not in getting Don Lemon to be what I want him to be. And the distractions are too much. And, you know, in his statement talking about Don Lemon, he thanked him, as they always do, for their service, and said, but we're committed to CNN this morning, and we're going to make it a success. And now he's got essentially a clean page to do that, to try to do that.